Welcome to Undressing Intimacy, where we cut through the bullshit
Greg,
so we can get naked.
you can't say that.
Why not? How would you say it then?
Well, maybe more like, welcome to Undressing Intimacy, where we undress emotionally so we can undress physically.
That's exactly what I said. Not sure what the problem is. One of the greatest blessings we have doing this is getting to know people. It's really been a joy. And not even getting to know them on a surface level, but really getting to know who they are and things that they struggle with and what they overcome. So we are so excited today to have one of our favorite friends join us. This story is amazing. Sit back and listen for all you people that are out there thinking, I am completely broken and there's no hope for me. We have a wonderful story for you today. So Amy, do you want to introduce Tammy for us?
Yes, absolutely. First of all, I want to say that Tammy is a dear friend and a coworker. She works alongside me in the Get Your Marriage On program as a marriage and intimacy coach. But first and foremost, she is a wonderful person and friend. She's also a mom of 3 and a recently added son-in-law. She has goats and chickens and puppies, and she's real. Do you know what I mean? She's real. And I met her at a retreat. Actually, we were teaching at a retreat. It was kind of a last minute change of plans that she landed at this retreat. And she asked me a really great question. And what I appreciate about Tammy is from that question, she really took on the task of developing herself, challenging herself, growing herself in such amazing and beautiful ways. And now she stands beside me and we get to coach together at these very same retreats. So I'm really excited for you to hear her story and to be inspired by her and her journey.
Yeah, Tammy, let's jump into it. Please, if you will, tell us this amazing story.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure where to start, but maybe back at the beginning, I suppose.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, my husband and I were the best of friends, right? We've been married 25 years coming up in August, and I would have said that we were the best of friends and probably came off as a really great, everything's going well for these two in their lives. And to me, for a little bit, I saw that. I was living in a little bit of a bubble, I would say, of protection that says, yep, everything is going really well. Look at how good we're doing. We're best friends. Everything is great. But what's fascinating there is that one day Jake came home and he said, I have a very interesting question for you. My boss asked me a question that I never thought I would be asked at work. And he said, he asked me today if I could rate our sex life from 1 to 10, what I would rank it. And I just looked back at him like, I have no idea. And of course, I was offended by that question because why was that anybody's business?
Or why didn't Jake jump up and say 10, 10,
Right?
10?
Why are you
Yeah, like he had to think about it, right?
Yeah, right.
So there was lots of offense that I took for different reasons. One was kind of cultural, where that was not something you talked about. I don't know that I could even really have said the word sex very well at that point in my life. And I was not young. This was not that long ago. Those things were things that we just didn't talk about. We did not talk about them in our relationship. And so the first thing I did was become offended because I was just upset with the boss. I was upset with Jake for even questioning it. I was upset with how Jake responded because he said, it made me think, I think we have some work to do. And that took me out of my like, ooh, I'm perfect into, ooh, there's lots possibly wrong. And now Jake is no longer happy. Like all of these things really played into a full on, I don't know, I felt like I'd been punched in the face per se in what does this even mean for me? And I didn't know what it meant for me for quite a bit of time.
But it really kind of made you question your identity and like look at yourself in a new way that was unsettling.
Yeah. Yeah.
We see this a lot with our clients, right? It's when those questions come up and all of a sudden it's okay to question it, but it's almost an unraveling. And you question if you're okay, if there's something wrong with you. And that's when it becomes dangerous. I was coaching yesterday and I had a couple that I said, there is a red flag that needs to go up every time you say I'm broken or there's something wrong with me, because that's when it's not okay. And I think when you get slapped in the face like that, that's probably where your mind went, was I'm broken. What's wrong with me?
Yeah. And I think it also made me start to realize that our relationship was not perfect, because then it started to open my eyes to like, what do I actually think about sex? What do I actually think about our relationship outside of like just being best friends or what other people see of us? I think that's what started to be the first shift for me, is like, ooh, who am I? And who is he? And who are we together? And what is a relationship supposed to even be? Because at that time, the only definition I had was what I brought from my past and what the two of us had co-created in the first 20 years of our marriage.
And so much a part of that doesn't include a passionate or sexual or erotic, right? Like we get modeled how to be good friends, how to be good partners, how to take care of all the domestic responsibilities of life, right? Parenting, paying the mortgage, the electricity, how to be good financial, savers or, to be wise. But we don't really get a model and picture of what does a thriving intimate or what does a thriving sexual relationship look like? And so just this question alone, like dropped that in your lap, the unknown of that.
Yeah. Yeah. From there, Jake said, I can see this is hard for you, but I also see that I have a lot of work to do. And so he actually purchased a course. Now, this is the funny part of it. He said he bought it. And then he said, just so you know, I bought the men's course and the women's course.
By the way, babe,
yeah,
welcome.
But it's funny because he then said, but I'm intrigued in the women's course. So, if you are intrigued by it as well, go for it, but there's no pressure.
Is this Jennifer Finlayson's
Spice? Yes. So it was the art of desire and art of loving.
And the art of loving. Yep. Two great courses,
exactly.
By the way.
They're amazing.
Now, let me tell you, we know Jake really well, and we love Jake too. He's become quite the friend. He's pretty wise. I don't know if he was blowing smoke at that moment, but man, that's the way to say it, because I went about it the totally opposite way, right? I bought this course for Amy and said, you need to fix yourself.
You bought Art of Desire and said, I hope it works.
Yeah, here you go. And then I kept sitting around and twiddling my thumb, like, why isn't it fixing everything? What's going on? Have you done it? Like, what are we doing? So husbands out there, take the Jake approach, even if it was maybe not always on the above, but don't take my approach. It doesn't work out very well.
Yeah. And now thinking back and looking back, that was the best, most amazing approach that could ever happen, because what was cool is it gave me the first space. Now, Jake is not smothering. He is a very kind man who was only doing what he knew as well. And part of that is living in his idea of what spontaneous desire was. And I think that this is a struggle in relationships. And I often see it when I'm coaching couples, is that spontaneous desire says, I know how to make it work. Right? Like Greg said,
just join me.
Just watch the video. You'll be fixed. It's very
come get in my Ferrari. I got all the plans.
Exactly. That's very common in that spontaneous desire. You're not doing anything wrong. You're only doing how your brain works, how your body functions. And you're just like, I have the answer. I have a really good fix. But in that moment, it was really awesome to watch Jake just calm down and say, I have bought both, but I'm just going to start watching the men's first. And it calmed me in that chaos. I know that I was feeling.
I'll invite you. You have a choice.
Right. Yeah. That was a pivotal moment for us. And I talk about that now to couples, in just the idea of that moment right there changed everything. The question that came from the boss started, but that space right there that was given to me, I think really gave me the space to choose.
Now, can I just, there is some protection for me a little bit on this side. I didn't handle it quite well, but when I first bought this course for you, she didn't actually have the men's course.
No, she didn't.
So. Okay.
I bought it back when it was only 4 little short videos, and now it's far more expanded. In fact, she's redoing it again, so it's going to be even more expanded because she likes her men's course now more than she likes her
Right.
women's course. So she has a beautiful men's course, and now she's updating the women's again. Anyways, there wasn't a men's
Right.
course
But
yet.
Jake definitely did a better job than me. And you can tell him that, Tammy. I know he'll
Okay.
enjoy the victory over me, but
Yeah.
he definitely did it the right way.
Yeah.
And I definitely resisted. Like
Yeah.
I was like, I don't want to watch this. Don't look over my shoulder.
Right.
You're
It was bad.
pressuring me. I can't watch this if you're like, okay, did you figure it out yet?
Yeah. Yes.
So, yeah. Take the Jake approach.
Yeah.
I'm going to use that.
Yes. Which was interesting because I'm still in my relationship, I'm responsive desire. Right. And even for this, even though Jake gave me the space, I'm still responsive desire, which means I have lots of pull that says, this does not feel right. This does not feel like what I should do. This does not seem exciting to me. But here's something that I started to see. Jake started to do the work first in our relationship. He started to give me that space and he started to take the course. And then he got a little bit of the punch in the face of, oh crap, I have a lot to do. I have a lot of work to do on myself. It's not just Tammy that necessarily needs to be fixed. And he didn't really feel that way, but it feels that way in the moment when your relationship is that in that place, like something is wrong and it's not me. I have a lot of sexual desire, so it must be my spouse.
Right.
As he started doing that work, there's another shift that I had is that I started to get really curious about this new person that was stepping towards me. Because all of a sudden, I wasn't the only problem. He was seeing that work that was in the course for him and asking really good questions. Now, I was still in a silence type where I didn't know how to speak very well to him, but it still was like, this is fascinating. I'm seeing
Something's
from my
changed here.
spouse.
We're in new
Yes.
territory. Yeah.
What I'm seeing from him is very fascinating. It's a different person. Now he's still amazing. Was still my Jake, right? But something was shifting. And that shift caused me to choose to even step in further and be like, if he's seeing some results and I'm seeing results from him, I think I better start that class.
We got around to it eventually that way. Like that's almost the same story that happened to us. Once I started taking the art of loving, is I started seeing that like, oh my gosh, I'm broken. I'm not broken because that's the wrong way to say it. I've got a lot of work that I need to do. And I came to that conclusion. And that's when I finally gave Amy that space to step into. And so it came about the same way. I just wasn't so good at the front of it. Right. But it's true. When you see that you have an impact on your spouse in a certain way, and you need to step back and give them choice to step in and get out of their way, that's when real change happens. And it was the same for us.
I think you start to see that both people are contributing to a pattern, or like we like to say, co-creating. And so you see your part in it. And there's always a part, whether you're spontaneous or responsive. And so it's more about seeing your part than blaming the other person. Well, when they change and get their act together, then I'll do something differently. And that's what we often do. That's how we often set it up. Greg saying, as soon as you get fixed, Amy, then I'll show up differently.
Yeah.
And me saying, well, as soon as you stop doing this, then I'll show up
As soon as
differently.
you pressure me to change, then I'll change.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a spiraling cycle. And it's really good to hear some better approaches to it, to see that was successful. And again, I think ultimately you get down to it when you realize you play a part in it and you start making that change. It's like a dance step. If you're a partner and you're really dancing, and Tammy will love this because she's a dancer, so I throw it in there. And you make that dance step. If you change the step and the partner doesn't change, it's just going to all fall apart, right? And so you started seeing those dance steps change, and you're like, am I going to keep dancing, or what's going to go on here?
It's an invitation into
invitations to change.
a new dance.
Yeah. And that's what I've learned to love about spontaneous and responsive is the idea that the responsive partner in a relationship is getting so many lovely invitations into an awesome party that the spontaneous partner is throwing, right? And ready to do. And I had to learn to accept that invitation and see that it was a really cool thing, that it wasn't just that I was a body. It wasn't just that I was to fulfill a need. It was that he chose me. Like more than anything on the earth, he chose me, and that invitation to me is very beautiful. So I had to choose to make a choice that was actually an invitation of love and desire, and he wanted to be with me, not that it was like forced. And I was taking that invitation and going in with that I had to do this as an obligation and a duty in my
Right.
relationship.
Well, tell us a little about, because we fast forward, we talk about like you didn't even know you had desires, like you didn't even know what you'd really come to a point where you thought sex was just for Jake, right? And that was your obligation as a wife, and you didn't even have desires. So, talk a little about how that came to light and what that did for you.
And what changed for you?
Yeah. We had gone to this retreat and I'm learning all this information. And we had watched the courses, started to make some change in our relationship. But I was still feeling a little bit at that point that I didn't know what the big deal was about. I see that we're supposed to have a better relationship, but still, I don't know. It just really felt I don't choose this yet. I don't know what all the big deal is about this. And so the question that really kind
And
of,
this is sexual intimacy,
yes,
right?
yep. Yeah,
Okay.
of just
clarifying.
yeah. So in that sexual intimacy realm, like, why do I want to have sex? Why do I want to be intimate with my spouse? Why do I want to desire all of this? I'm good. I'm good where I'm at. I don't need this portion of my relationship to feel a certain way. And so we went to this retreat and Amy was presenting and I walked up to her. I only asked one question the entire time I was there. I was just very quiet and just soaking it all in that whole weekend. But I asked her, how do you learn to play? Was my question, because that was just absolutely boggling my mind. I could not wrap my head around the idea that this was supposed to be play and supposed to be fun at all. Amy, what did you tell me? Do you remember? Do you remember your response? If not, I can tell you. It's fine.
I don't actually
Okay.
remember exactly what I said. Sorry.
No,
I remember you coming up to me
Yeah.
and I was kind of, yeah, I remember the interaction, but I don't remember what I said.
Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah, and I won't say it in the best Amy voice, but maybe she can repeat it back after. Anyway, I said, how do you play? And she looked at me and she goes, you just do it.
Oh, goodness.
Well, there's an insightful coach for you. Everyone hire Amy. She'll just say, just do it and be done.
Oh my.
But it was cool because I was like, I kind of just sat there, I think, and not really knowing, but it made my brain start. What does it look like for me in my relationship to just step in towards just doing that, just choosing that? So even though you're like, that was kind of a lame response, Amy, actually, it was the response that I needed to just start to choose that this was a choice, that the freedom in it was for me to start to see and discover my own body, that I had no idea, friends, what it even did. Really, frankly, I had a lot of learning to do that I didn't allow. I had so many walls up that said, ooh, this is all about him. This is nothing about me. I did not know my body or how to enjoy or experience pleasure at all.
So up until that point, you really, if I have this correctly in your story, you really hadn't ever experienced an orgasm.
Correct. Yes.
And it was really a more like, I'm taking care of Jake and this is work, and more rigid, and there wasn't fun, there wasn't aliveness, there wasn't play in it. It was very much in like the task work category, which honestly, we have enough of that in wives and spouses. And if sex is a task or work, it's really not desirable. And if it's about being someone's, sex toy, not desirable.
And Jake didn't
So
desire
tell us
either.
how you learned.
Yeah.
Right. And that's
Yeah.
exactly right. And I'll say that on this side, coming from spontaneous, when you know that that's what's happening, it's the worst feeling in the whole entire world. You feel like you've just taken something from the person that you love the most. And one of the things that really slapped me upside the head and made me really think I've got to change something is when we had a study that showed when wives are doing this at a duty for a duty sex, there literally is studies that show there's PTSD, right? We're causing PTSD in them because they're doing something not out of choice, but out of duty. And it really is. So as bad as it is for the responsive spouse, and I'm not taking away from that, it's horrible because it becomes spiraling from the person that's spontaneous if they are a good person and they truly love the person they're taking it from. And so it's bad on both sides.
Yeah. 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 He didn't want it, but he didn't know any different. So I'll just acknowledge that. We didn't not have great experiences before. We had some really fun moments. We had been married a long time. So it's not that they weren't there, but most of the encounters were like, let's get this done with, he didn't know any different because we've only just been with each other.
Right.
And so it's been a really great learning experience for both of us. We were so limited, like we said, in our understanding of our own bodies and my own body that I didn't even know my own anatomy at that point, which I will own that sounds really silly and funny, but I would say at that point that I just was like, that's a no, you don't do that. It was still very shameful that I had a body that was sexual, that this was a gift from God, and that I was supposed to do something pretty amazing in that aspect, that my clitoris is only for pleasure. Did not know these things. And I'm just starting to step into that space and have Jake alongside me of being very compassionate and kind, of being like, let's figure this out. Let's figure out this together. So that I could learn to be like, wow, my body is pretty amazing. And I would say I had to change this. And if you're a woman and you've sensed this, like for a while, touch was funny to me because I think that I was probably starting to have desire at certain points in different areas, but I was like, ooh, don't do that. Ooh, don't touch that. When our relationship was more transactional, I didn't want any of it because I didn't understand the feelings I was having. It probably was bringing up more shame. Now that I think back at it, is like shame or that's a weird feeling, but I shut it off. And so I think that's a really powerful thing for women to know, that it's okay that it feels different. But
or even like tickly. A lot of times the nervousness and anxiety comes across as like tickly, or like, and it's that nervousness of being in our bodies, being okay, having them be seen. And so much of that actually for women comes from our society and from the pressure on women's bodies. If you think about every part of our body, whether it's our hair, our eyelashes, our skin, our face, our lips, our waist, our legs, everything, the media around us has told us how it should look and how it should be and what shape it should be and what kind of condition it could be. And it has to be young, and it has to be firm, and it has to be curvy in the right place. It has to be long in the right place. It has to be full. And every like ad and book and, and so there's a lot of reasons why sometimes when someone goes to touch a woman's body, when your spouse goes to touch a woman's body, that those messages come up. Wait, that's not as it should be, or I'm concerned about this, or maybe this isn't right, or, a lot of those body images do come up in the intimacy of learning your body.
Yeah, I think also I like the book Replenish from Tammy Hill. And the reason why I really like it is because she really takes an approach of talking about these things, and she'll go in a touch and she'll say, hey, if you are trying this in a sexual manner and this touch happens, this is how your body will respond. If you continue to do this, then it will respond this way. I'll talk about one. She talks about the G-spot in there, and people like, it doesn't exist, right? And she literally goes through and says, if you start, you're going to feel like you want to pee. And most women are like, hey, stop. That's not any good. It's like, but if you continue on, this is where you need to go. And I think that
it will become
pleasurable. And so oftentimes we don't know what's beyond that first initial touch either.
Like if it's tickly or uncomfortable or uncertain, like how to relax into it, or how to explore different ways, lighter, softer, heavier, firmer, ticklier, like just navigating that.
Yeah. And that was part of something that I needed to learn to step into this, is I had to learn to not be ticklish. And, people are like, that is not a thing. Actually, it is a thing. I learned how to take that ticklish feeling into more now of a, ooh, that feels good. It just
ticklish.
Right. Yeah.
Into it like a teasing, playful, inviting.
That was part of that. What does it feel like to play? It is just changing what you have decided, what the stories are around some of the touch that you've always maybe either shoved off or felt like was wrong or whatever it may be, and just be like, why do I feel that way? And can I feel differently? And then it can start to change.
Mhm.
That's how you start to move into play for you, is to start to change the way that you think about these little tiny baby things that owns your own body and who you are. One of the books that I love is The Come
Mhm.
As You Are. That was
Yep.
that one
Fabulous.
Yep.
was very helpful for me.
By Emily Nagoski.
Yes, to help me step into this. How do I play? Because it taught me about my body a little bit and taught me that these things are good and taught me ways to kind of step towards that in a place that says, I am proud to be who I am in my relationship. I still am responsive, but I know my body. And it's really cool
Mhm.
that I can start to learn how to play, to enjoy, to experience orgasm, to do all of these things that says, ooh, I'm part of this now. This is not just a one person show. And Jake's grateful too.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's some benefits there
Yeah.
too. I think the great thing about it is that it's a life pursuit, I think.
Mhm.
We used to think like if we would do this course and get there and then have these great orgasms, then everything would be over and we would have a perfect sex life. And I don't think it's the case anymore. I really have discovered that the whole joy between joining each other and having this intimate sexual relationship is that we get to continue to grow and learn and develop and try and play and do different things. And we've just been talking lately about, holy cow, like there's so many things that didn't work in the past that now seem to work and that we've tried. So no matter where you're at on the spectrum, if you're just coming into it and you're saying, hey, I don't even know, I'm trying, then there's this work that can be done and the pleasure that can be found. But if you've also figured this out and you've been doing it for years, I still think that it's still a moment to grow and to learn and develop together. And that's the great part about it.
Yeah.
We have like infinite capacity and depth of intimacy. There's no like topping out and you've reached the max level.
Yep.
Because we're so nuanced and complex and constantly developing and growing. We're not static, we're changing. And in those changes, it's an opportunity all the time to find and explore and know and love each other
Yeah.
and find that pleasure together.
Yeah, we're just amazed at how much we continue to progress, right? Even though when I started to step in and we were being so open and there was still a lot of, oh, I am still broken, or this isn't working, or all those things will continue to come up. Those stories will continue to come back. Those patterns still step in and try to take back over the show. Like having understanding and compassion and being like, we're okay. That's one thing that even in the last little bit, we've had to learn to have more joy and laugh in the bedroom, because right at 1st it was more like, okay, we finally are going
I'm
to
going
get
to
this
cry.
right. And there were some tears sometimes, I would say, as we're trying to figure this out, because it can be frustrating. And it can be like, I want this so bad. I've discovered it. I've realized that this is a really beautiful, wonderful thing. But it's still sometimes, all being fully real, it still can be frustrating sometimes. And so learning to lighten up in that, but it's all these baby steps all along the way of, are we okay? Yeah, we're okay. Was that a hard moment? Yeah, it was. Did that go how we wanted? No, it didn't. But then just going in it again and seeing what works and seeing what the two of you develop in your intimacy together. The Ferrari is fun that Greg brought up earlier, but if there's a Ferrari for two where you've both gone to the dealership, pick out the Ferrari that fits for both of you.
Or maybe minivans are just fine.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, whatever it may be. The car has to
A slow
be
roll with a seat in the back that can fold down.
Exactly.
Maybe it's just fine.
One of those
Kinds of
custom
options.
vans. Yeah.
That's all right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Carpet on the ceiling. We're good to go.
Yeah.
So, Tammy, I have got to ask you a question that I've never asked. So, are you ready for this?
I am.
Known you, what, 3 years now? When you do something, are you like, I'm all in, I'm just going to go for it? Like, nothing's going to get in my way. Watch out, world. Is that who you are?
That is.
Because
yeah, go ahead.
that is what I saw.
That is me. Like when you get me hooked on an idea that I am like, that I feel excited about, that I feel passionate about, watch out, world, because you're going to see me change and completely step in and give my all to that, whatever it is. And it just needed to have, the invitation just needed to be there. The knowledge just needed to be there. The understanding just needed to be there. And it had to come too. Like I didn't know it all at first, but it was just like, I have to do better in this area. And so, yes, Greg, that is exactly me. That is just, can I do better? Absolutely. I was incorrect. And because I'm incorrect, I'm going to do everything in my power to move towards the space where I want to be, in a place where it's more fulfilling and loving. And I really am being my true, honest self in this area.
Yeah. Because, ladies and gentlemen, let me paint the picture for you. So we went to a retreat. We found Tammy. We did this exercise where we asked her to write down her desires. She had a blank piece of paper, maybe only tear marks on it, right? So she went from that state. The next year, we had another retreat. By the way, Tammy was there again. But this time, Tammy was there helping teach the retreat. And so this journey has been so amazing to watch, and how powerful it was to sit in that next retreat and have Tammy tell her story as she watched other people in that retreat sit there and just have a blank page. And she goes, I know exactly what you're going through because I just did it a year ago. So you've just watching you blossom and take this and run with it has been so fun to do. And just tell everyone where you're at now. Like, how did you get to that point? Like, I had a blank page and now you spend time coaching people on how to fill up their page.
What would you tell women if they're feeling like they don't have any desire, they don't know where to go, and they want to just open up that path?
Yeah.
Maybe they too have never had an orgasm or felt pleasure.
Yeah.
What would you tell them?
I think that I would tell them, what do you know about yourself? What do you understand about your own body? What do you know about the goodness of intimacy? What do you believe about it? And I think that it just took a lot of introspection on my own part in understanding my own belief, not Jake's, not what anybody else in the world was telling me, but what do I believe and is it correct? I had to relearn a lot of untruths. Now, they felt very, very true to me, but that's where I had to start, is just, that's what I believe, that sex is gross and I can't even say the word and I can't even say the parts of my body, to be like, wait, that's wrong. Like, I need to do better and I desire to do better. I am a sexual being. And so that's where I would say to start, is to decide who you are or who you want to be. That's where I started, that I started saying, I am a sexual being. I desire Jake. I desire intimacy. And these became a daily thing for me. That was kind of my start, that I decided who I wanted to be. I am a sexual woman. I have a body that responds to these touches, and I desire to be with Jake. Those are the things that I started to do so I could relearn who I wanted to be in my relationship, because I did have a lot of untruths. So that would probably be the first thing in my mind, is what are some untruths that I have that I need to relearn, and to have a desire to step into a beautiful relationship with my spouse that it is supposed to be.
Mm-hmm. I had a similar journey in just like learning to understand that I could be a very virtuous woman, and that part of that virtue was embracing and integrating my sexuality.
That's like mind blowing. Like, people just can't put those together.
Were just so separate. And so knowing that like eroticism was a blessing to me and to our marriage, and that would help me be a better friend, wife, mother, like being in touch with this part of me. And that was so foreign. And I remember saying over and over to myself, I'm learning to believe that I am a sexual person. I'm learning to believe that I have a sexuality. I'm learning to believe that I have desires. And I had to just like crack the door open a little bit, because it seemed so far-fetched.
Yeah.
It was like, yeah, but are you, and have you? And I think up to that point, I really hadn't felt a lot of those. I didn't see how sexual intimacy, how eroticism, how passion could replenish me and our marriage. I only saw the picture of marriage that was all about the friendship and the companionship and the partnership, which is amazing. Those are amazing parts. Yeah. But I didn't even realize there was this whole other really important part of marriage. And it's because we just don't talk about it. And so just even learning to believe like, yeah, I have that part. It exists in me. And it's really important too. as important as my spiritual and my intellectual and my emotional and my mental and my physical. This is just as important.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll add to that. I have always been a really, really good girl. Like from the time I was little, that became my job, to be a really good girl, to make sure that everything was running smoothly, to make sure that everybody was happy, to make sure I was keeping the peace. That went into my marriage, and but good girl did not include the sexual aspect, because good girls don't. And good girls don't do that. They don't think about that. That was part of my good girl type mentality that says they don't do that. They go in, they serve, they help everybody else, they do everything for everybody all the time. But they don't do that. They don't think about that. Like, that's gross. And so that was part of my transformation. It's the good girls do. They do. And I'm still a really, really good girl. And that was part of my shift, is like that internal thinking that says, I'm still good. And I'm actually adding to my goodness. I am so much more loving and lovable than I ever was before, even though I thought I had that all handled. Adding in this intimate part of myself has made me more lovable. It has made me have more ability to love others because I love myself.
Yeah, I think that's such an important part to put in it. Is we're talking about the sexual intimacy part of it, and it's a huge change. But the work that you have to go through to get to a good sexual relationship with yourself and your spouse changes who you really are. It gives you a different perspective. I mean, I talk about how I was so dogmatic. I was like, this is right and nothing else can be right. And there's been such a plethora of changes that have blessed my life because I've gone through this work for my family. My kids can see it. My coworkers can see it. And it really is a total makeover in so many different ways, because you're trying to get to this place of saying, how can I be a sexual, intimate being? And what does that look like for me? And how can I integrate that into all the other things I have been taught about goodness? And this one, by the way, has been told me it wasn't good. And so now I'm trying to reintegrate it. But I guess I'm saying that because it really is a total makeover when you go through this process, for sure.
I think it asks us to look at our most vulnerable areas. And in order to do that, it does change you. You can't look that deeply into you and be that vulnerable and that exposed without experiencing change and without experiencing expansion and growth and development. And those are the parts that we like to kind of keep tucked away.
Yeah, that's the vulnerable place.
But as you actually open them up, you not only learn to love your own, but you learn to love a spouse more unconditionally and fully. And that just expands your capacity to accept, to love others unconditionally too.
Yeah, I think every client that have come to us, and even if they've come and said, hey, need work on my intimacy, my sexual relationship is a problem. To me, that's like the canary in the coal mine. And we always go back to find out what's happening emotionally. How are you dealing with your own emotions and those emotions that you're tied with your spouse, and taking care of that? And I'll often find sessions go by and we haven't really even talked about sex yet, but yet that's what they brought to the table. And it's getting to those underlying things and addressing them, because we can't truly be intimate with each other if we're not a whole person, which means not perfect, but that we accept who we are, our fallacies and messiness, which I have tons of, and the perfectness that God made us, because we're perfect human beings in the likeness of God. And we accept those two things. And that's a lot of hard work to go do. It hurts, but it really leads us to this ability to be able to be intimate emotionally and physically with each other.
Yes.
I was coaching a gentleman the other day, and he was asking me, he'd been doing work on his internal narrative and learning to create a relationship with himself. And he was feeling broken. And I said, no, all of us have this opportunity to develop a relationship with ourselves. Every single human being. Our parents can't do it for us. God can't do it for us. Our friends can't do it for us. Our spouse can't do it for us. So all of us have this component in some part of us that says, I'm broken, or there's something wrong with me, or I need to be fixed, or I'm a project, or I should be this way. Some type of internal narrative that's in the negative, because that's the way that we have choice. And we're the only one who can make that choice to learn to love ourselves, to learn to accept ourselves. No one can do that for us. And if we all had these positive, amazing only narratives, then there wouldn't be a choice. And so when people come and they say, this is happening, like, yay, here you are at the sacred opportunity to step into really loving yourself, which will, as a byproduct, expand and overflow into loving your spouse and others. And then nothing has gone wrong.
So Tammy, tell us where you're at today. I mean, tell us what you're doing and how people can find you and hook up with you and learn from you more.
Yeah. So I have an Instagram account, Tammy Camp Coaching. So you can find me there, or my website is the same name, just has my name, tammycampcoaching.com. And those are where you can find me. And I just do coaching. I do coaching with couples and individuals to help them find these ways to move forward in relationships, to find that connection, to learn how to communicate, and to do it with choice. And that's the coolest thing in all of this, is your own choices to step into a relationship.
Yep. Well, all our friends out there, go see Tammy. We love her. She's amazing. This story is absolutely incredible. We are great friends with her and Jake, and it's been such a blessing to get to know them better and to see this transformation. And it's possible. And that's why we love doing this work.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So please come join us on langfordlifecoaching.com. Like and subscribe to this podcast. Tell your friends about it. Tell your family about it. And come join us. There's a little button on our web page that says
free consult.
And we would love to have that free consult with you. Come and join us. Go see Tammy and her page. We love this work, and it's a great blessing for us.
What we really hope is that you feel hope, that you see the possibility, the potential, no matter where you're at, that you can see there can be change and that there is choice.
And until next time,
keep undressing your intimacy.
Bye-bye.